I've always wanted a big, badass set of quads. As instantly eye-catching as a jacked set of arms or a big chest is, strong, powerful thighs really complete your physique. And the teardrop look that comes from ripped quads is a big key to making your lower body stand out. The easiest way to get a crazy local burn in your quads and grow your quads is to use the leg extension machine, and plenty of big box gyms have them. But many gyms also don't have them, and that can leave you without a real way to truly isolate your quads. Thankfully, there are other ways for us to really blast our quads, as long as we're willing to think outside the box. Now, none of these moves will truly attack your quads the same way that a leg extension machine does, but there's still solid alternatives that will help smoke the dominant muscles along the fronts of our thighs. So in general, our quads serve two purposes. First, their primary purpose is to straighten our knee. Their secondary purpose is to help flex our hip. Doing leg extensions lets us hammer that primary purpose, and the best part about leg extensions is that they keep tension on our quads through the full range of motion, giving us tension in the stretch portion of our range of motion. They also let us do this without piling up too much systemic fatigue, so we can focus on taking our quads to failure without something else like core strength or grip or overall body fatigue becoming a limiting factor. This is what we're looking for in any leg extension alternative, and to be honest, it's really hard to find. We can't truly duplicate that with most other exercises, but we can challenge our quads to straighten our knees. Our goal is to find moves that will let us challenge our quads in the stretch position while also letting us pile up volume, and ideally not letting our upper body fatigue too early in the process so that we can't really take down our quads. The easiest option that we have, and the one that's going to come to your mind first, is the resistance band leg extension. This move is going to let you replicate the leg extension movement pattern almost one-to-one, but it is not perfect. You're going to lose a lot of tension in the bottom position of the leg extension because of the nature of banded resistance. It is hard to go heavy on this move as well, so you'll need to take this very high rep to get any stimulus, and you'll really have to focus on a good mind-muscle connection and squeeze on every rep. The reps are going to get so high though that to some extent it's just not going to be worth it, and that's why this is at the bottom of the options when it comes to replacing our leg extension. As we start to look at better exercises to replace our leg extension, we come to the bodyweight sissy squat. Now these are exceedingly hard, but you will get a ton of time under tension for your quads. And then the unique thing is that you'll also duplicate the challenge in the stretch position of the leg extension. But sissy squats have a downside. First off, these are hard to do, period. When you're learning them, go only as deep as you can go to do them. Not everyone needs to be able to touch their knees all the way to the ground. The other issue with sissy squats is that even once you've mastered the move, you can't really progressively overload it. Granted, bodyweight reps done properly will create plenty of quad tension, but they'll also tax your torso too. So this is a solid alternative, but we still have better options too. A better option that will get you plenty of range of motion for your quads and offer more progressive overload opportunities is the box step up, as long as you do it right. When you do a box step up, you get an opportunity to create extreme knee flexion, and we start the motion under plenty of tension. It's also easy to load this move with dumbbells, so we can progressively overload this. But there are downsides to this move from a quad development standpoint. The biggest of these is that there is next to no tension at the top of the movement. When you straighten your knee, a position where the leg extension makes you work, you get to take tension off of your quads during the box step up as your joints basically stack. You also don't have the stability to truly overload this movement. Balance can be a mitigating factor instead of muscular fatigue, and your glutes wind up heavily involved too, especially on the descent. You can't really avoid that either, depending on your lower body levers. An even better option than the step up is the front foot elevated reverse lunge. And this has a lot of characteristics that are similar to the step up, but because your back foot is closer to the ground, you won't feel as out of balance. That allows you to overload the pattern a bit more, making you have to fight for the straight leg position. It's still not perfect, but we're getting a little bit more activation at the top. You can also play with the elevation using a larger elevation to create even more knee flexion and quad stretch at the start of the movement. The downside here again is that your glutes are still heavily involved in this movement, so while you can load it, you won't just tax your quads. And for as much as you face tension in that straight leg position, much of that will come from your glutes driving your hips into extension. This is still not a pure quad movement. That's why we start looking at exercises like the heels elevated front squat or goblet squat. And my favorite version of this is the goblet version. Here, we're gonna use a wedge or a set of plates to elevate our heels, and we're gonna close up our stance to make this movement focus even more on knee flexion. The elevation of our heels and the closed stance let us drive our knees out in front of our toes, and because of the placement of the load, we can't lean our torso too far forward. Because of that, we get a nice long thigh lever at the bottom of every single rep, and this becomes a prime position of tension for our quads. This is a great option because you'll be able to keep most of the tension on your quads throughout the life of each set, and to great extent, you can progressively overload this, especially because most people can goblet squat a lot more weight than they think. It's not perfect in that your upper body and your thoracic spine may fatigue before your quads, but combining this with an approach that uses drop sets and rest pause sets, you can get some serious quad mileage out of this move. Still, if there is a shortcoming to the heels elevated goblet squat, it comes in that there is still a lack of tension as we straighten our knees. We can solve that though by introducing a resistance band into our squat and lunge ideas so that we can attack an idea called terminal knee extension, basically the act where we're really straightening our legs and flexing our quads. And whether you do this via a Spanish squat or the TKE, terminal knee extension split squat, it's your best option for replacing leg extensions. Essentially, you're gonna set up as you would for any standard squat or split squat, but you have a band anchored in front of you, wrapped around your knee, and this will cue you to straighten your knee aggressively on every single rep and offer the tension needed to fully contract your quad. Both the Spanish squat version of this and the TKA split squat can be effective, although the TKA split squats have a slight edge because you get to focus on one knee and you get to overload that knee with as much weight as your upper body can handle. So the big lesson here is even though you don't have a leg extension, you still have plenty of options to grow your quads. You're gonna find one of the moves on this list that really resonate with you, stick with it, work through progressive overload on it, and your quads will grow, trust me.